Jack Reynolds was 57 years old when he lay down for his usual afternoon nap and never woke up. It was a Thursday. His wife Laura had just returned from the grocery store and noticed the house was unusually quiet. Jack's favourite jazz record was still playing in the living room. A cup of tea, now cold, sat beside the recliner. She called his name from the hallway, expecting to hear his usual response. "Just resting my eyes," but this time there was no answer. When she entered the bedroom, she found him lying peacefully on his side. One hand rested gently on his chest. There was no sign of pain, no struggle, no chaos, just stillness. At first she thought he was deeply asleep, but as she touched his shoulder and gently shook him, her heart dropped. His skin was cool, his chest was still. Jack had died in his sleep, not from a stroke, not from an aneurysm, but from a heart attack, a silent one. There was no dramatic collapse, no cry for help, no chest clutching like you see in the movies, just a quiet ending to an ordinary day. As a cardiologist with over 40 years of experience, I've seen this more times than I can count. A seemingly healthy man, no recent complaints, no major warning, and yet he never wakes up. It's not just rare cases like Jack. In fact, thousands of older adults die from heart attacks each year without ever knowing they were at risk. And that's why I'm telling you his story. Because Jack's heart didn't just stop without reason. There were signs, small ones, quiet ones, but they were there. And if you learn to recognize them now, you just might save your own life. Jack's death wasn't random. It wasn't fate or bad luck or even something that just happens after 50. It was preventable, and that's the part that still haunts me. 2 weeks before he passed, Jack had mentioned to Laura that he'd been feeling just a little off. He said he was more tired than usual, that walking up the stairs winded him a bit. He chalked it up to stress or maybe age. After all, 57 isn't exactly young, but it's not old either. A few days before his final nap, he had a strange bout of indigestion after dinner. He even joked, maybe that chili's finally getting revenge. But looking back, that wasn't indigestion. It was angina, chest discomfort from reduced blood flow to the heart. These symptoms, fatigue, shortness of breath, indigestion, don't sound dramatic, and that's exactly the problem. Movies teach us that heart attacks are loud, crushing chest pain, falling to the floor, gasping for breath. But real heart attacks, especially in men over 50, can whisper. They can look like feeling unusually tired after mild activity, a heaviness or pressure in the chest, not sharp pain, discomfort in the jaw, neck, shoulders or back, lightheadedness or sudden cold sweat, nausea or what feels like acid reflux, anxiety or a sense of doom with no clear cause. Most people ignore these signs. They wait until they're sure it's serious, but by then it's often too late. You see, 50% of heart attack deaths happen before the patient ever reaches the hospital. Not because there was no chance, but because the early signs were dismissed as nothing. Jack didn't die because he had a heart attack. Jack died because he didn't recognize he was already having one. Let that sink in for a moment. What you feel might not be sharp, it might not be sudden, but if it's different, if it's new, if it's making your body feel wrong in a way you can't explain, don't wait, don't Google it, don't lie down and hope it passes. Call, get checked, say something, because your heart might be trying to talk to you. And the worst mistake you can make is not listening. It was an unusually warm Thursday afternoon. Jack had just finished trimming some branches in the backyard. Nothing too strenuous, just a bit of weekend maintenance he liked to keep up with. Laura brought him a glass of water and he smiled, wiped the sweat from his brow and said, "I'll take a quick nap before dinner." She thought nothing of it. Jack went upstairs, kicked off his sneakers and lay down on their bed. That was at 4:15 p.m. At 5:30 Laura started dinner. She let him sleep a little longer. He had seemed more tired lately and she figured he could use the rest. But by 6 o'clock something felt off. She walked upstairs to wake him. "Jack," she said gently, placing her hand on his shoulder. No response. She called out again, shook him. That's when she noticed his colour, pale, lips faintly bluish. His chest was still, no rise, no fall. She screamed. Paramedics arrived 6 minutes later. They did everything they could, CPR, defibrillation, oxygen, but it had already been too long. Jack had been gone for over an hour. The official cause of death, sudden cardiac arrest due to a silent heart attack. But here's the thing. Cardiac arrest is often the final step in a series of missed warnings. Jack likely started having his heart attack hours before he lay down. That tightness in his chest after gardening, the shortness of breath, the sudden fatigue, all classic symptoms. But because there was no crushing pain, no collapse, no drama, he didn't think it was serious. In his mind, it was just being tired, just a bad day. That's how heart attacks work in people over 50, especially men. They sneak up quietly. They don't always come with fireworks. Sometimes they feel like heartburn. Sometimes they feel like a pulled muscle. And sometimes they feel like nothing at all. But the damage is still being done, minute by minute. I've reviewed Jack's case a dozen times. His EKG from 6 months prior was borderline. His cholesterol had crept up over the years. He'd gained a little weight, let go of his walking routine, and skipped his last follow-up. None of it seemed urgent, until it was. That nap, it wasn't peaceful, it wasn't rest. It was Jack's final moment of life, his heart slowly giving out while no one was watching. As a doctor, I've seen this before. Too many times. And every single time the story is the same. I thought it was just fatigue. I figured it could wait till morning. I didn't want to make a fuss. But the heart doesn't wait. Jack's story is tragic, but not rare. In fact, 1 in 5 heart attack deaths in men over 50 happen while they're asleep, and more than half of those men had early warning signs they didn't act on. If Jack had gone to the ER that afternoon, odds are he'd still be here. The heart attack could have been caught. A stent could have been placed. Medication could have stabilized him. He could be planning his retirement instead of being remembered in an obituary. This wasn't just a nap. It was the end of a life that didn't have to end that day. And it's a reminder, maybe the hardest one, that we can't ignore the quiet warnings our bodies give us. Because next time, it won't feel like a movie. It'll feel like a nap. And it might be your last. Looking back through Jack's last few weeks, the warning signs were there, clear as day, not dramatic, not loud, but present. And if we had connected the dots sooner, we might have had a very different story. Let me walk you through them one by one, because chances are someone you love, or maybe even you, are experiencing the same ones right now. First, unexplained fatigue. About 10 days before he passed, Jack had told Laura he'd been feeling draggy, his words. "Like my limbs are made of sandbags," he joked one morning. She thought he might be coming down with something. He thought he was just getting older. But persistent fatigue, especially when it's new, deep and unrelieved by rest, is one of the most overlooked symptoms of an impending heart event in men over 50. The heart is struggling, working harder to pump blood. You don't feel pain, you just feel tired. Second, shortness of breath. Just a week earlier, Jack had come inside from taking the trash out and paused at the kitchen sink. "Give me a second," he said, breathing heavier than usual. Again, he brushed it off. "Must be allergies," he said, but he didn't have allergies. When the arteries in the heart start to narrow, it limits oxygen flow. You might not feel chest pain, but you'll feel winded, doing things that used to feel easy. If walking up a flight of stairs starts leaving you breathless, pay attention. Third, mild discomfort in the back and shoulders. 2 nights before he died, Jack mentioned a weird crick in his upper back, said he probably slept wrong. But here's what many don't know, especially men. Heart attack pain doesn't always show up in the chest. For some, especially those with high blood pressure or diabetes, the pain radiates. It shows up in the arms, neck, jaw or back. Fourth, restless sleep and early waking. Laura had noticed Jack was tossing more in bed, getting up at 3 or 4 a.m, pacing, checking the thermostat, sipping water. He said he just couldn't get comfortable. But sleep disruption, particularly early waking with anxiety or unease, is a subtle red flag. In cardiology, we often call this prodromal insomnia, the body's way of signalling that something's not right internally, even before clear symptoms hit. Fifth, emotional changes. This one is the hardest to talk about. Jack had been quieter, a little more irritable, less engaged, not depressed, but distant. He wasn't himself. And this matters because changes in mood, especially increased anxiety, restlessness or feeling off, can be the body's nervous system reacting to low-grade heart stress. Jack didn't know this. Most people don't. But had any one of these signs prompted a checkup, had they even just called the doctor and said something feels off, we might have seen the pattern. We might have run an EKG, we might have caught the blockage, and Jack might have still been here. These red flags were silent, but not invisible. And here's the part that matters to you. If you're over 50 and feel like your body has changed, your energy, your breath, your sleep, your mood, don't explain it away. Don't assume it's age, don't chalk it up to stress or weather or being out of shape. It could be your heart, and it could be trying to whisper before it screams. Jack missed the signs. So did his wife. So did I, until it was too late to help him. You don't have to. The next part of this story is what you can do today, this week, to protect yourself from the same fate. Because the good news is, silent doesn't mean irreversible. Not if you act in time. Let me take you behind the scenes, into what actually happens in the body when someone like Jack has what we call a silent or atypical heart attack. First, understand this. Not all heart attacks come with chest-clutching pain. In fact, for older adults, especially those over 60, men with diabetes and postmenopausal women, the symptoms are often vague, misread or mistaken for something else entirely. But inside the body, the crisis is very real. Here's how it unfolds. A heart attack begins when one of the coronary arteries becomes blocked. Most commonly, this is due to a plaque rupture, a fatty deposit that breaks open inside the artery wall. The body responds the same way it would to an external wound, by sending platelets to the site. But instead of healing, those platelets form a blood clot right inside the artery. Within moments, that clot begins to restrict or completely stop blood flow to part of the heart muscle. Without oxygen-rich blood, heart muscle tissue begins to die within minutes. If that artery stays blocked for too long, usually beyond 30 minutes, significant and often irreversible damage occurs. In some cases, like with Jack, the blockage can trigger a sudden electrical disturbance, a fatal arrhythmia like ventricular fibrillation. That's often when someone just drops. No warning, no time to react, no second chance. Now, why don't some people feel pain? Here are the three main reasons. 1. Nerve desensitization. In older adults, especially those with diabetes, the nerves that carry pain signals from the heart to the brain can be dulled. It's called diabetic neuropathy, and it can make heart pain feel muted or absent entirely. 2. Referred or atypical pain patterns. Instead of feeling pain in the chest, the signal may be interpreted by the brain as discomfort in the neck, shoulders, jaw, or upper back. That's why Jack's crick in his back and his shortness of breath weren't recognized as cardiac symptoms. The heart was sending alarms, but they came in a foreign language. 3. Gradual onset. Not all heart attacks happen suddenly. Some develop slowly, over hours or even days. This gives the body time to adapt to the discomfort. You might feel off, tired, maybe nauseous, but not enough to panic. These types are especially dangerous because people wait, hoping they'll feel better. But meanwhile, the heart muscle is dying. Now, here's a truth I wish more people understood. A heart attack doesn't have to kill you, delay does. Most people who die from heart attacks never make it to the hospital. Not because the attack was untreatable, but because help didn't arrive in time. Jack's heart attack was likely survivable if it had been caught early, if the signs had been understood, if someone had connected the dots between his fatigue, shortness of breath and back pain, if he'd been on medication to manage his plaque risk, if he'd had a recent stress test. That's what makes these silent attacks so cruel. Because it's not that they didn't happen, it's that no one saw them coming until it was too late. But now, you do know. You know what to watch for. You know what questions to ask your doctor. You know that being tired, out of breath or slightly off isn't always just a part of aging. In the next section, I'll walk you through the specific steps you can take today to lower your risk. Simple, actionable and proven. Because once you understand how silent heart attacks work, you begin to see they're only silent if we ignore them, and now you won't. I've often asked myself, as Jack's physician and friend, what could have changed the outcome? It's not about blame, it's about learning, about honouring his memory by making sure his story doesn't repeat itself. So here are 7 simple but powerful steps that may have saved Jack and can absolutely protect you or someone you love. 1. Get a heart health screening every year. This sounds basic, but many seniors skip it, especially if they feel fine. But feeling fine doesn't mean your arteries are. A standard checkup should include blood pressure, cholesterol panel, HDL, LDL, triglycerides, blood glucose or A1C test, possibly an EKG or stress test if risk factors are present. Had Jack had a full screening, we might have spotted elevated blood pressure or early signs of heart strain before his heart gave out. Prevention starts with detection. 2. Know the atypical symptoms of a heart attack. We've talked about these already, but let's list them again for clarity. Sudden extreme fatigue, shortness of breath during light activity or rest, nausea, indigestion or upper abdominal pain, lightheadedness or fainting, pain in jaw, neck, shoulder or upper back. Cold sweats not tied to heat or exertion. Jack had at least 3 of these in the week before his death. Knowing them and acting on them could have changed everything. 3. Keep chewable aspirin nearby. If Jack had taken 325 milligrams of chewable aspirin the moment he started feeling pressure or unusual shortness of breath, it could have thinned the blood just enough to buy time, just enough to restore a bit of flow before total blockage. Keep aspirin in your nightstand, in your wallet or purse, by your recliner or TV remote, and most importantly, chew it. Don't swallow it whole. 4. Walk 30 minutes a day. Jack used to walk regularly when his wife was alive. After her passing, his walks stopped. Movement strengthens your heart, lowers your blood pressure, improves insulin sensitivity, and reduces plaque buildup. It's not about speed. It's about consistency. Even 10-minute intervals matter. Get a dog, join a walking group, or just put on music and walk around your house. Movement is medicine, especially after 60. 5. Ask your doctor about a coronary calcium scan. This is a low-radiation CT scan that checks for calcified plaque in your arteries. It's fast, non-invasive, and one of the best tools to spot heart disease before it becomes a crisis. Had Jack done this scan, we might have seen his risk and put him on a statin or blood thinner. It's not for everyone, but for many over 60, it's a game changer. 6. Manage stress proactively. Jack never talked much about stress, but after his wife passed, it lived quietly inside him. Loneliness, financial worry, regret. These things weigh on the heart, not metaphorically, but literally. Chronic stress raises cortisol levels, stiffens arteries, and increases the risk of arrhythmias. You can't eliminate stress, but you can buffer it. Practice deep breathing for 5 minutes a day. Call a friend just to chat. Join a local support group or hobby club. Spend time in nature. Mental peace is physical protection. 7. Create a personal emergency plan. Jack lived alone. He had no emergency system, no alerts set up, and his phone wasn't within reach. If you live alone or know someone who does, set up medical ID on your phone, use a smartwatch with fall detection, keep emergency contacts labelled ICE in case of emergency. Consider a key lockbox for paramedics. Review your plan with loved ones. You don't need to be afraid of living alone. You just need a plan. That plan can be the reason you make it to the hospital and come back home. Jack's story wasn't rare. That's what makes it tragic. But his story gave us something more powerful than fear. It gave us a roadmap. These steps aren't complicated. They don't require you to change your whole life. But they do require one thing, that you take your heart health seriously now, not someday. In the next section, I'll share a quiet moment with Jack's son, a conversation that still echoes in my mind today, a conversation I think every family should have. A few days after Jack's funeral, his son, Michael, stopped by my office. He looked like a man holding back a flood, grief behind calm eyes, words chosen carefully so they wouldn't crack. He sat down and didn't say anything for a moment, just stared at the old anatomical heart model on my desk. Then he asked quietly, "Do you think he knew it was coming?" It hit me hard. Not just because I'd asked myself the same thing, but because of what he said next. "I found a note in his nightstand," Michael continued. "Just a few lines. It said, 'If anything ever happens to me, tell Mike I'm proud of him. Tell him not to carry guilt. I lived a full life.'" He paused. "But I do feel guilt. I should have visited more, should have made him go for that checkup." Should have asked about that weird episode he mentioned last month. I listened. Let him sit with the silence. Finally, I told him what I'll now tell you. Guilt is a powerful thing, but it's rarely the right teacher. What matters is what we do with it. Do we let it eat us, or do we let it guide us? Jack didn't need pity. He didn't need someone to save him. What he needed was awareness, preparedness, a nudge, a plan. That's what we all need. Michael nodded. If I'd seen a video like this one, maybe I would have known what questions to ask, what signs to look for. Exactly. That's why we tell these stories, because behind every sudden heart attack, there are always signs. There are always opportunities, sometimes missed, sometimes just unseen. But there's always a next time, for someone else. Maybe for you, maybe for someone you love. Michael left that day with a small packet I give to all families after a cardiac event, a checklist of warning signs, a simple 5-minute emergency response plan, a printable medication card to keep in the wallet, and a list of conversation starters for older parents. It's not much, but it's a start. Before he walked out, he turned back and asked one final thing. What would you want people to do after hearing a story like my dad's? I didn't hesitate. I said, start the conversation, not tomorrow, today, with your parent, your partner, yourself. Ask the hard questions, make the plan, print the list. Keep the aspirin by the bed. Don't assume you'll know when it happens, because it might not look like you expect. Michael nodded again. Okay, I will. Then he left. And that moment, that quiet, heavy exchange has stayed with me. So now I turn the question to you. What will you do with Jack's story? You don't need to overhaul your whole life. You just need to take one action, today. Because the difference between a close call and a tragedy isn't luck, it's preparation. In the final section, I'll walk you through a clear, easy-to-follow checklist you can use right now, tonight, to make sure you and your loved ones are ready. It's simple, it's free, and it could save your life. So now we've reached the part that matters most, what you do next. You've heard Jack's story. You've seen how easily the signs can be missed and how quickly things can spiral. But the most important thing I can leave you with today is not just awareness, it's action. Let's build your personal heart attack safety plan right now in 10 minutes or less. Step 1, know the silent signs, print or write down the lesser-known heart attack symptoms common in people over 60. Sudden extreme fatigue, shortness of breath at rest, cold sweats or clammy skin, lightheadedness or confusion, pain in the jaw, back, neck or left arm, nausea, heartburn or feeling off. Tape the list somewhere visible, refrigerator, bathroom mirror, bedside table. Read it out loud once a week. That small habit might just burn it into your memory when it matters. Step 2, prepare your emergency response steps. Here's what to do immediately if you suspect a heart attack while alone. 1, stop what you're doing. Sit or lie down safely. 2, call 911. First, not your spouse, not your child. First responders. 3, chew 325 milligrams aspirin, unless allergic or contraindicated. Chew, don't swallow whole. 4, unlock your front door if you're able. 5, put your phone on speaker so you can follow instructions without strain. 6, control your breathing using the 4-7-8 technique. Inhale 4 seconds, hold 7, exhale 8, 7. Stay still and calm. Movement increases the heart's demand for oxygen. Let stillness protect you. Print that list and place it next to your phone, in your wallet and beside your bed. Step 3, make an emergency info card. This should include full name and date of birth, medical conditions, diabetes, high BP, prior heart issues, current medications, allergies, primary care doctor and cardiologist. Info emergency contacts, keep one in your wallet and post a second on your fridge or entryway. First responders look there first. Step 4, place aspirin where you can reach it fast. Keep non-coated aspirin in your bedroom nightstand, your kitchen drawer, your purse or wallet, your car glove box. Be sure it hasn't expired. Let your family know where it is. Step 5, talk with your family. Have one honest conversation this week. It doesn't need to be dramatic. Just say, I want to make sure we're all prepared in case something ever happens to me. Then walk them through your emergency card, where the aspirin is, and what to do if they suspect you're having a heart attack. If you're the caregiver for an older parent, initiate the same talk. Step 6. Consider a medical alert device, especially if you live alone. A wearable pendant or smartwatch with emergency call features could buy you precious minutes if you can't reach your phone. Step 7. Practice once a month. Actually go through the motions. Where would you sit? Can you get to the phone? Can you unlock the door quickly? Where's the aspirin? Muscle memory can save your life when your brain is clouded by panic or pain. Final thoughts. This isn't paranoia, it's preparation. And it's one of the greatest acts of self-respect and love for your family that you can make. Because if the moment ever comes, you won't have time to Google. You won't have time to guess. You'll only have what you already know and what you've already practiced. So do it now, take 10 minutes. Print the list, make the card, have the talk. Because knowledge is good, but prepared action is what saves lives. And now you are ready.